today's episode for Black and Dating in Salt Lake City. Today I have with me Chantell and Mikell. Thank you for joining me today.
Hello.
Hello.
So today's episode we're talking about, or the topic is he said, she said. So I first want to start off with how long y'all have been out here in Salt Lake City. So let's start with you, Chantell. How long have you been in the city?
I have been in Utah since September of 2021.
Okay.
So I live outside of Salt Lake City, but within the county.
Nice. And then how about you?
I'm a native here.
Oh.
So, yeah. Everybody was like, yeah. No, so I was raised out here. I wasn't born out here. I was born in Florida, but I was raised out here. My mom was born and raised out here, so we have roots here.
Oh, that's interesting.
So she met my dad in Florida. We moved back here before I was one. Been here ever since.
For the viewers, people like Mikell are very hard to find. When you meet a Black person that is from Utah, you're like, what? That's crazy. So let's jump right into it. Are you currently dating? Are you interested in dating? What's your situation right now?
It's complicated. No. No, it's really not. Like, my phone is dry.
Okay.
Not intentionally, just by happenstance, but I am actively seeking, and when opportunities arise, I do go out on dates.
Okay.
Just not often.
How's it been for you?
You know, it's been.
Dry? Has it
Yeah,
been? Okay.
yeah. So yeah, dry like the Salt Lakes.
Why is that?
Yeah, why is that?
It's just really hard to find people to build the connection with to get to the point of a date. Like I use dating apps, and it's like you would match with someone and you talk to someone, and it's like someone was like, hey, I want to take you on a date. And I'm like, all right, cool. Let's talk a little bit more. Just simple, where you from? What's your family dynamic? That kind of stuff. And then I just went back on the app and unmatched.
Really? Just like ghosting? That's strange. What about you? Like, are you dating?
I've been dating. I'm in a relationship, bit of a relationship now. It's like, oh god. But yeah, but I haven't been dating that long. I've only been back on the market, a little over a year. Been kind of off and on dating throughout. The person I've been seeing, I've been off and on for about 10 months.
Okay.
Or so, but like nothing serious until recently.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, like I've never done the apps. Well, I did the app thing, but it really wasn't my thing.
So how do you meet people?
Like out in public, I actually go outside.
You actually go outside.
I think people on the apps go outside too, but depending on where you are, you can when you go outside, you only meet people based off of where you are.
Right.
Okay.
So but the reason I never jived with the apps overall is because of that same purpose. It's like when you're on apps, you really trying to find the compatibility or what's in common when you're on an app. Really, you don't know. But like if you're going somewhere, like if you're going to enjoy a space, or if you're going out, or if you're meeting people while you're out, you're typically in a space that you like being at. So then you find somebody that you have that commonality with, rather than where you're trying to create commonality through an app or through text messages or phone calls, where you really don't know essentially what they like.
But Mikell, let's keep it real though. Like, it is easier, I think, for Black men to date out here. Like, you can go anywhere you want. No, first of all, do you have a preference? Like, or are you just like whatever kind of prior to your serious relationship now? Like, were you open to everything?
I was open to everything.
Okay.
So so my background, so I just got out of a long-term marriage and relationship.
Okay.
So like I married my high school sweetheart. So we were together 24 years. We were married 14. So when we got out of that relationship, I started to see people from every walks of life, a different race, religion, creed, basically, just to kind of see what was out there.
Was it like exciting?
It had definitely had its moments. I wouldn't say it was boring by any means.
Exactly.
Definitely, it can be exciting, but like meeting new people is just exciting
good
within
thing.
itself. You
Yeah.
know, it's just like not only for that friendship, anything. Like
Yeah.
anytime that you meet new people, it can be exciting, but it can also be exhausting. It could also be, you know, more of a chore than like when you look back at it. Sometimes it's like maybe that's more work doing that consistently, right? So. But yeah, it does definitely have its moments. Like, why would people do this if
it wasn't
fun?
Facts. Now, Chantell, you are not a homebody. You be out here. You
Don't be putting my business out there like I'm in the streets.
But you have fun. Like
No.
you're living your life. And like I think that's a beautiful thing. And so you are meeting people out in the open. Let me ask you this, since you are also out living your life, what are your preferences, and do you feel like you are finding that when you are out? Physical preferences.
Right.
Okay.
Well, shoot, it needs to be all time. It needs to embody as one.
Yeah.
But I prefer Black men. Mm-hmm. That's
what it is.
Yeah, that's just my.
We're not mad at that. Okay. We're not mad.
That's just my choice.
So let me ask you a question, because that always comes up. Because like as you said before, it's easier for Black men to date out here.
Yeah.
Is that because our preferences are just more open?
Yes.
Okay then.
And also because of the preferences that you are open to are more
common.
Interested in you particularly.
So you mean like Mexican white women?
Yes.
Like
So you're saying all women just is interested in what
are
we
in
have.
Black men.
But that's what.
Okay.
But like you're going down the list is like, oh, you're talking about Hispanic, white women,
Yeah.
Asian women. It's like, well, yeah, then we like everybody's interested in us. But like that could also
But it's
be
not
true.
the vice.
But yeah, but it could also be true for you. But if you're specifically looking for something, especially in a demographic that we live in, where we only are, you know, less than 2% of the population, it does make it harder. But like I think with that, I think it's a misconception sometimes that it's easier for us just because we have, I guess we have a bigger pull.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make it as easy when you're specifically looking for something also.
Because you guys have more quantity, but not necessarily quality.
Correct. So it's just, yeah, we might have a larger scope to look at. But then again, like when you start looking at preferences and what you're looking for and like what you're looking for in a person, that still does dwindle your dating pool no matter what.
So let me ask this question. Like, let's hang out with the word quality for a minute. So there are a lot of transplants out here. I'm a transplant myself. Do you feel like the quality of Black men that are moving out here, they're suitable, like in any way? Because I don't know, maybe that helps fill the gap a little bit. Because I feel like a lot of folks that are out here, they're coming out here for work. It's not like they're coming out here for the mountains. I mean, it's a nice additive, but that's not the sole reason. And so in terms of quality, do you at least see, okay, well, the numbers are what they are. The ratio is what it is. But at least the ones that are coming out here, they might be suitable bachelors that could be available. Do you feel that or no?
I mean, I ain't going to knock, God's children, but I feel like they are a decent. I've met guys and like they're decent people in general, but in terms of suitable for relationships, some of them give the impression that because they're new here, they kind of don't want to jump into a relationship right away because they're in a new environment that they want to test the waters. Especially if you're looking at Black men that lived in like New York, Atlanta, the South, stuff like that. And maybe they have not ventured outside of dating Black women. They come here and they're like, maybe this may be the place that I will step out of my interest and my comfort zone to try something different. And so they would take a break from that. And also just some people that are transplants, they don't plan to be here permanently.
Right.
So they don't want to sow their oats and have to feel like they have to stay here, things like that. So they're like, I don't want to be serious because I know I'm not serious about staying here in Utah.
Why is that? Like, I mean, as a man, what is that about?
What do you
know
mean?
you're from here and you're rooted here, but like, why is it? Because I've heard this all the time in my conversations with women out here. They're willing to go the distance with a man if he's the right man and be like, you know what, hun, if this is not our forever place, that's okay. That's cool.
Right.
We can take that next step together. But I am hearing from men, oh, this is not where I'm going to be. You know what I mean? This is not my forever place. So we can kick it while we're here. But
Right.
beyond that,
I'm not even gonna allow
I'm
myself.
not even going to allow myself. So I'm curious.
Well, if I had that mindset, because I'm a little different, because I already have roots here,
Right,
and
exactly.
so like this is my space, right? So I'm not worried about leaving. But if I was in that mindset, but also you have to look at the logistics of it. So let's say you do get with somebody, or let's say if I moved here and I was working here, and my intention was not to be here for more than 5 years. Let's just say they're probably still open to a relationship, but they're not seeking it because of the fact that it might turn into something, and then let's say you don't take that job, that promotion that you might get, or whatever your progression is, or let's say you do fall in love with somebody, and then it's just the logistics of like, now I'm responsible for somebody else to try to move across, or to have them quit their job and move across the country or move back home, and then that becomes more stress as well, because then you have to think financially, how does that look like, emotionally, how does that look like, and everything like that. So that's the only thing that I could think of. But it also depends on what age group that is as well. If we're talking about young professionals that come to Utah, from what I've seen over the last few years, a lot of the young Black professionals are coming in from ages 25 to 32, where they're coming from spaces like Utah is historically known for having young family units.
Yes.
Alone, just because of the religion demographic out here. But like everywhere else in the country, it's not as such. So you come out at 25. Typically people are just getting out of college, and then they're coming into their profession, and the last thing they want to really look at is a long-term relationship or something like that as well. But they still want to date. They still want a companionship and things like that. But it's not super long term, whereas it might be a little bit different for women as well, because when women come out and they start dating, women date more intentionally.
I agree. I would agree with that.
So when they're not, the majority of women are not here just to have fun, not to go out and have fun and seek companionship and just hang out with somebody. They're like looking long term. They're starting to look at family planning and things like that. So they approach dating differently now.
To that point, I'm glad you said that. It was perfect segue into, not to put out anyone's age, but we are some
No, go ahead and drop the numbers.
older, mature people in this.
Drop the age.
Basically, we're not like in our 20s, right? Like we're in our 30s, you're in your 40s.
Oh, so you're going to drop my age, but you're not going to drop
I
yours.
mean, I'm just saying, but my point though is that, and I want to ask you this, Chantell, like, being a woman in her 30s, are you like, what, if these things don't happen by a certain time, I'm gonna, like, Utah is not gonna be the place for me in terms of what you envision your future to look like? Whatever that next phase is, engaged, married, or just a long-term partner, whatever that is, do you kind of have a timestamp on being out here if something doesn't come to fruition?
I don't have a timestamp on anything that is out of my control.
Okay.
So I can have a timestamp on how, when you want to get a degree, when you're working towards a promotion, I can control that. I can't. And I know when we were younger, used to say you played a game.
I'm gonna get married
when I'm 25 and I want to have a kid by 27. Like,
I did that
at that point, and that was before we knew what fibroids were and endometriosis and all, physical circumstances,
real stuff,
and as well as just being in relationships. I don't put a timestamp on when I plan to be married or engaged or anything like that, because my phone is still dry. I don't know who I'm gonna meet or when I'm gonna meet, and I'm not saying that it won't happen in Utah. It may happen. I know I have to leave Utah at some point.
Yeah.
And it may happen when I get to my next destination. So for right now, like, I'm enjoying the ride. Like, even when it comes to having a kid, I am older, and at this point, I'm geriatric pregnancy.
Janet Jackson did it though. She was older.
She paid to get that done.
Naomi.
Okay, so there's a process to that. Freezing eggs, IVF. That is thousands on thousands on thousands of dollars.
Right.
So there's there's still that risk and stress to the body because she still carried the child herself. So those are the things that we didn't think about when we were younger that we do now. And at this point, I don't want to put a timestamp on it because where I am as a single person, I am content. And I know once a relationship and a child come into place, everything changes.
Yeah.
So I kind of just enjoy.
You're going
the
with the
ride.
flow.
I'm enjoying the ride until it comes a time that I have to make that serious decision. When I decide to get married and I can't have children, I may adopt. I may get a surrogate. Like I'm at that point where I'm open minded that I'm not letting my age push me to make decisions that I don't feel is ready for me.
So I want to say something real quick, Mikell, and I'll let you chime in. So, or I would love for you to chime in. So I was at the barbershop earlier today, and the barber said something very interesting to me.
The barbershops be talking.
So they said women get married when they can, men get married when they want. And so like, when you say that, you're like, when I want to, but is it like, are we really in the driver's seat of what that looks like, women? I don't think so. I don't know.
I claim it.
You claiming that?
Okay. I claim to be because we're not in a position. Again, that may be based. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to just interject, but like when you think that you are, like you believe you're in the driver's seat of like the relationship or when you settle down, or like, please elaborate on that.
I'm in the driver's seat in which I wouldn't be in a relationship like, okay, there was a guy that liked me and he really, really liked me. He talked about, but I genuinely was not interested in him.
Yeah.
So for someone who's like, well, I mean, he checked the blocks, he liked me, I might as well just be with him because I don't know who else might show interest in me in the future.
No.
I mean, I'm in the driver's seat in that I don't want to compromise to be with someone if I don't feel we're both not 100% interested in each other, in love with each other, and ready to move forward with each other.
Yeah.
Well,
so
absolutely, and I think women have, from what you said, women definitely do have more of the control in that sense. But let's say that you're both liking each other, and like you really like this person, he really likes you. When it comes to actually like moving forward or being in long term, I think that's what she was like touching on. That's when the men really control that narrative.
Right. Because
it's just like
exactly.
They're the ones that really like suggest if this relationship is really going to that next level. Because there's a lot of times where a woman is in that space and the man's just not there yet, and it does take a little bit more for a man to get to that space because I don't think it's just about options, but it's about responsibility and what a long-term relationship looks like and what a marriage looks like and what your roles are. If we're talking in the traditional sense of a family unit and things like that, it's just like, I think there's so much more of a burden. I don't think a lot of people think about this. I think there's much more of a burden on men in a marriage and in a long-term committed relationship in regards to providing for a family and things that they're traditionally supposed to be responsible for. So then, they definitely take a pause more often than women would in regards to putting in a long-term relationship. It's not just like people want to date around. It's just like when you talk about an honest long-term relationship partnership, you're looking at the responsibility of that, not the freedom that you're giving up.
I mean, I would agree. There's also an expectation, at least for women that are in heterosexual relationships or have the desire to be in one, that the man does step in and provide, right? Like we're like, we want him to be the provider. So there are things that we do want from them in exchange for our loyalty and nurturing and all of the other good things that women provide in relationships.
But what are you willing to give up to be in that relationship?
Child, we give up a lot.
Here we go.
we give up a lot.
But you act like I always hear that, but I also the majority of the times that I hear it, it always is coming from a woman in regards to that. Like, oh, we give up so much, but it's like, are you even thinking about what the men's giving up? Because like sometimes you look at your worth and it's like, oh, he ain't giving up nothing because I got all this. Like but you also have to think it's just like, as much as you think that you're giving up, they're giving up if not more or equal. or it could be less, and it depends on the relationship.
Right.
But like I think a lot of people get really like they look within. It's just like, oh well, this is who I am. This is what I'm offering. So they should, just like bow down, or like they should really appreciate. And I think people should appreciate people. Like that's not what I'm saying, but like it's like we get so caught up in ourselves rather than looking at what truly the other person might be giving up as well.
So here's what I have to say about this. A lot of the women out here, at least the women I've met, are, of course, transplants. They are hardworking women. They've been basically bosses in their respective spaces. So I do find it interesting, and I'm curious how they approach dating, because for the large part of their life, when they moved out here, they were in the driver's seat of their careers. Right. They were the driver's seat of their lives. And so what does it look like to be in a place like Salt Lake? What brought you here was your grind, right? Like making money, doing your thing. But when you meet someone and they're asking you to, all right, hun, that's all great, but if you want to be in this relationship, this is how we need to maybe identify some roles, or like how you need to kind of create a dynamic that is suitable for a long-term partnership. Is that foreign for a woman who's been out here, who came out here and was like by the book, did everything right, and now she kind of has to take a step back? Like, I don't know how that works. That's a hard thing for her to do, I think, in some cases.
I think that would be in any city.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that was my situation. Dating in New York.
Yeah,
I think that's and even for people that move out here, it's like we're in the driver's seat of our career, but so many of us didn't anticipate to come out here.
Yeah.
So we took that leap of faith to come to a different city that we know we're in the minority group, but we're still willing to try to see what's out there. So I think on both sides, the curiosity is there, and I'm sure the natives, it's an interesting dynamic. And I want to ask you, like, how has that been for you, seeing the influx of more diversity in the city, based off of your upbringing out here?
Oh man, it's been amazing. Like, to see, and it's really ramped up, I believe. And I don't know what the attrition is, like how many people are actually leaving, but to see the new faces and people, and like me being with the chamber and being on the board of the chamber and being involved in events and small plug.
Okay.
But no, like being involved in that, and to see the demographics change, not only amongst our people, but other cultures. Like I always tell this story because I've raised here my entire life. I was taking my dogs to the dog park one day, and I look over and I see a group of Asian Indians out there playing cricket in the middle of the park, and I'm like, oh, like this is actually like the demographics out here is actually changing, because I would never have saw that before, and I was just stand there in awe, because I'm like, that's when like you're starting to see change, and like people out here is starting to look different, and the events are looking different. The people that are attending the events are looking different. So that's like every culture. So like Utah, like it's not a huge melting pot, but it is becoming one because of industry and tech companies coming out there. There's so many different types of people that Utah is starting to see now that they did not see before.
Yeah.
So that's just statewide. But in regards to the black population, and seeing how it's changed, and seeing younger professionals come in, and it is like when I did hit the dating scene, and I'm looking at potential people to date, I'm 42. I'm not going to be scared of my age, because I embrace it.
Do you?
Yeah, right. They say you get better with age. So
I know.
I'm looking.
I age like a fine wine. It's all great.
Okay.
There you go. Plug. But you see, when I'm looking at potential suitors or anything like that, you're also seeing a younger black population, professional population come out here. Like there's not a ton of middle-aged black women moving to Utah for professionals.
Would you agree?
For men and women, yeah.
Okay.
So when you're seeing the black population rise here, and like black professionals and people that are actually dating, it's the age is the 25 to 30, the possibly 35, and so and also like when you are out there dating, you're looking at like family units and stuff like that. Like I wasn't initially dating intentionally, and that's I was going to refer back to you on your last answer, but like intentionally and like, am I looking to start another family or anything like that? I'm past that time. So when you're looking at potential suitors and you go out and like, oh well, yeah, I'm 30, but I want to have kids of my own. I'm like, well, yeah, then this is not going to work out. Like you're cool to hang out with, but like if that's what you're looking for, like that's not going to change. Like my unit's not going to change. So maybe we're not a great fit or whatever have you as well. So it's kind of harder because I think the dating pool of Black women from age 35 and above, or 35 to 45 is a little bit different than what you might see with the younger population. But that's like with that being yeah. So with that being said, like when you're out there dating, you're saying your phone's dry. It's just like, what effort are you really putting into actually dating? I'm not judging. I'm not judging, but like I will wholeheartedly state this: if your phone's dry, it's on you, and you're not putting enough effort.
Nah, No, I could pull up the conversations and the receipts where, and like she said, she knows me. You know me. Like we've hung out and stuff like that. So I honestly don't think that it's not a lack of effort. It's just a lack of it's a lack of effort on their part. Because I feel like the person I said that I had matched with, you say you want to take me out. I'm like, cool. We're talking. We're engaging in conversation. We're multiple days. And then you just unmatch. It's like you put that high expectation or interest of something. Then I didn't even, you said that like in the first early messages. You ain't even have to say that. Because it's like now you just sound like you gaslighting me. Exactly. You really have no intention of going out with me. You just saying that. Right. It's just like have a normal conversation. But even when I met people in person, and it's that same thing where it's like you meet, you have a good conversation. Okay, let's see where that goes. And it's just like minimal effort. Yeah. In terms of that, I feel like I talk to you, I try to communicate, and it just don't follow up.
Okay, so this I may be getting a little pushy here, but I'm curious because if you are in an interracial relationship, and you are open to dating a multitude of women across the race spectrum, which is fantastic. I'm curious though. No, but I'm curious in the sense that, and you are from where?
Brooklyn,
New York.
Say what your chest.
So here's what I'm getting at. How a brother would maybe approach you in Brooklyn.
It's a lot different.
Maybe very different. I don't than how a brother may approach you from Utah.
But it's so funny about that too, because I've gotten a lot of that. Like and one thing that I found throughout this process, I can only be who I am, and like, I could show interest in somebody, and like I show interest how I believe I'm showing interest in somebody.
And what does that look like?
Like if I chat with you, or like like I feel that we're vibing or something like that. If I feel like you're not like trying to vibe with me or something like or trying to drop hints like I should ask you out, I just won't do it because like maybe I'm scared of rejection. I don't know. I haven't been in this. I have not. It could be ego. I don't know because it's a very new space for me overall. Like, but like, so I haven't done this over the last 20 something years, right? But like, it's funny because I had this conversation with a Black woman. It's just like, oh, you just want these white girls to fall all over you. I'm like, no, that's not the case. I'm like, I'll be chatting with them. I'll be talking to them. And then they'll be vibing back. It's like, yeah, we should get together. We should do something. So then they put it out there. And so I'm less apprehensive to like worry about
They're more open.
They're more open and they're more direct. And like, I talk to Black women. They're like, oh, we just don't do that. I'm like, well, it's working for everybody else. So if it's working for everybody else,
why it's not working for y'all?
Maybe you should try it.
Interesting.
And so like, and I'm not saying to change whatever your values are or anything like that. But if you're saying people aren't approaching you and people are not asking you out or what you're intending, and you see other people being successful at doing that, maybe ask yourself the question if that's something that you might want to try.
How does that make you feel to hear that?
I ain't even listen to what you said.
See, everybody's closed. Everybody's closed off to new ideas.
I don't prescribe to that because.
But why is that?
Because I'm not one of the examples that you're talking about.
What do you mean?
In terms of, dropping subtle hints or not being direct or not being open or having that expectation.
So you're saying that you're very direct? Okay. So like going back to what you were saying and chatting online. So this is one of the reasons that like online dating just never worked for me, because I'm like, if like, I don't have to like, if I obviously a lot of people judge a book by its covers. The whole thing. It's like if I look at you, I'm attracted to you, or it's like your bios, you drop a couple. This is what I'm interested in. This is like, why are we messaging? Let's meet. Let's do that. And a lot of people don't do that. Like, people message for a week back and forth, and then it's just like,
when we gonna get. But that's my point. With the guys, it's like we message and then it just falls off because the goal.
Do you say like, let's meet this? Let's go to coffee. Let's go do this.
Didn't I just tell you that they unmatched me before we got to that point?
No. Why are you waiting that long to get to that point? That's what I'm saying.
Was that? It's because I'm not going to
put yourself out there.
No. Because I matched with someone. He said, let's meet. The same day we matched, he said, let's meet up. We went and we met up.
So you're very much still allowing the man to be in the driver's seat of when we gonna meet?
No, I'm going based off of the flow of the conversation. So for that particular situation, I was out of town. Okay. So he was like, when you come in town, let me know so we can go link up.
Right.
So I hit him up. I say I made it back in town. He's like, all right, cool. And then I'm like anticipating, okay, so when would you like to meet up? And then the unmatch occurs. So, that's just one instance. With the online dating and even in person, again, I think it's still the follow-up. I don't think there's an absence, like for me personally, and even for, some of my friends that we talk candidly about that kind of stuff, I don't think there's always an absence of an expectation that the dude has to do everything, especially when you're talking to women that are 30 plus, mid 30, pushing 40. That expectation of is because now we have more self-awareness, we're more into our sexuality. We're more into our womanness.
More confident.
Yeah, we're more confident. We're more vocal. We've gone to therapy, so we're able to express if that's what we're interested in.
I definitely think I agree with like being more vocal and being more assertive in life itself. Like you guys are more comfortable in life and to tell people what you want.
And in dating.
But I think when it comes to dating, you guys don't approach it the same way.
Interesting.
You guys don't approach, you guys wouldn't approach dating like you would approach a promotion at your job. Like if you saw it, you'd be like, nah, this is what I do. This is what I want. When it comes to guys, like when it comes to dating, from what I've seen, it's just like, I want him to take more of a role to initiate, but then when he initiate, then you guys could take control.
What's been your overall experience dating Black women out here? Has it been easy? Like,
have you dated Black women?
I've dated a couple Black women.
Yeah, like what? Like, was it so? Maybe before you dated them, but just approaching Black women. Like, has it been successful? Like, or did they kind of give you the cold shoulder? Like, what is that like?
Well, it's also weird too, because like, take my background. Obviously, I've been in the community for a long time, so a lot of people know me as it is.
We're setting the stage.
In the community as a whole.
Yeah.
Part of that issue, I think, as well, is they know me in a certain light or a certain like being married to in an interracial relationship. Okay. And being with my ex for as long as I was as well. So when like people have known me for 5-10 years, they see me in that space. Yeah. So to initiate a conversation about a relationship, it's hard to do in current groups where they've already known me for 5-10 years and they know me in a certain space. And it's like they may know my ex and everything like that. So it's uncomfortable. So dating Black women that I've known for years in that new space was hard. Okay. Because it's just like, well, I know you, but I know you like this. So it's not like it's not like there's nothing new about me. Like my personality didn't change. Nothing changed. They've already known me for years, but they know me in that different space.
That's kind of sucky in a way.
Like, it could be, but like, and we touched on you touched on earlier about preferences and stuff like that, and it's just like that's something that have started to realize as well, because like, yeah, I've been in this space my entire life, and I've dated interracially and have an interracial family and things like that, so it's comfortable to me. So when dating outside my race, it hasn't never been an issue,
right? Because
overall, like, so it's not unfamiliar for me, so it's a little bit different, and I've realized that about myself, because it's like I was definitely not going to be in a space where I'm trying to force something.
No.
And obviously I've been comfortable in a certain space. So like dating different type of people, it wasn't a problem. And then like when I get comfortable and like the girl that I'm dating now is half Hispanic, half white. And I'm like, I have no problem with that. But like, you know, you still receive pressure from the outside looking in too. And that's what does suck about like being a man out here in Utah. Dating is difficult because it's a stigma either way. Like, because sometimes you can't date how you feel comfortable because of outside pressures, especially when you like myself and other people that are in the black public's eye, being on the chamber. It's like, oh, how can he
you with the black chamber, but you dating
it hasn't been once or twice, but several dozen times that has always become the context of it.
Yeah. So that means you've gotten a few side eyes from black women.
A few.
More than a few. Okay. Okay. More than a few.
I do, but like you and like sometimes you don't get angry. Like I don't get angry about it. I get frustrated about it because it's just like the perception is that you can't care for your community or you can't embrace your community.
And that doesn't make you less of an ally.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it does become that stigma of it. It stings a little bit, and like that's one thing that, even as my older age, you get to a point where you start to care less about people's opinions and more about like actual work.
Yeah.
And so like, I actually put the work in and I actually, participate in our community and care about our community.
So how do you feel on the opposite side when you see a black woman dating outside of, like, or with the white
just
man?
hate it. No, I'm joking. I don't. No,
you don't. It doesn't bother you.
No, I don't. And I've seen several people, especially being here as well. Like, and I want it to be for the right reasons as well. And I've always been an ally, no matter what.
Yeah.
I could be in an interracial relationship, and I can be, wherever I'm at in my life, in whatever space. I will always protect black women, black men, our people as a whole.
Yeah.
And, the problem, I think, with all interracial relationships is, the spaces that you find yourself in through interracial relationships. Because then, you might have a lot of, white friends or different. Yeah. And so then you find yourself in conversations where, there's always that underlying racial undertones of conversations. And like, I just hope that, if you're dating somebody, and especially black women with white men or whatever, it's like, how is that white man going to protect her in situations where his friends might say something that's underlying racism that he might not be aware of? And I think more black men are attuned to that when, they're with a white woman or a Hispanic woman or whatever have you. And it's like, if they start to say something, you can call it out. Right. But I think on the flip side, there might be a miss there.
Is that part of the reason why your preference is to date strictly black men?
It's just what
you like.
It's
yeah.
I mean,
they are beautiful beings. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
I mean, and it's not all if you black, then I'ma like you. Like,
no, there are qualifiers.
Have you ever dated outside your race?
No.
Okay.
I mean, one Puerto Rican, but that's like same difference.
It was a Brooklyn Puerto Rican, though.
Yeah, so it's like same thing.
Let's qualify the response.
But yeah, and it's not for like, no, because I've just never been approached.
Right, but how long were you in Brooklyn?
I've been in Brooklyn, I mean, up until I was 18. I've lived in other states and other countries, and those situations never really came.
But wherever you live, you've always been in a predominantly black space until here.
Compared to Utah, yes.
Okay.
Yes. I have lived in other spaces that is like, Yeah, definitely predominantly black. But then dating was just as hard there. So it's just sometimes it's like even when you're in places where there's just a large black community, it's also that mindset that there's just so many to choose from. Why settle for one?
So like I don't know, like maybe it is the Utah stigma that we are spoiled, but like when people say dating so hard, it's so crazy to me. Like I don't
But trust
know.
it from this side.
Yeah.
So because I believe you, but
yeah.
I'm just saying from this side, and even when I talk to women in other large cities, like
Well, that's true too.
Black women are like, I think we have to do a little bit of level setting here. I do think in most other races, the men prefer to date within their race. I do think that there is an interesting dynamic that does exist within the black community, where I'm not sure if I always feel like black men prefer black women all the time. I like, do you know what I mean? Like, whereas people in other races, they marry, they start families with, like, that is just what happens. And I'm not sure if we have that same level of commitment in our community. One, two, my assessment has been that black women seem to have this very strange, and I do think it's strange, ride or die commitment to black men, where if it's
to only dating
black men, where I feel like there could be a larger dating pool where we are getting what we need from another space, potentially, because black men are doing it, right? Like so I don't know. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm just saying it is interesting to me, the sense of loyalty that black women have to date within their race. And that's maybe not so much the same for black men. And I'm not saying we're all the same, but excuse me. That does seem to be an interesting dynamic. I've also met some black men out here that have been like very much so one side or the other. I only date black women. And they say it right from the get. I don't want to be fetishized. I only want to date sisters. You know, you're like, oh, wow, okay, that's refreshing. But then you also see some brothers that's like, since I'm out here, I might as well, see what it's like to date outside of my race. And that's cool too, because I think what's most important is finding people who you jive with,
right,
who you mesh with.
And I wouldn't oppose if I was to meet someone that was not black and we vibe well, but then that's when I think maybe black women, they want to stay within their race for tradition and cultural reasons.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing where, Asians, Middle Eastern, they stay within theirs because that's a traditional cultural thing that you want to keep and maintain. But of course, we definitely see people that step outside and they go outside their race. It has to mesh it all. Like, for me, a good reason for me not to date someone that would be Middle Eastern is if they're Muslim and I'm Christian, and I'm not interested in interfaith relationships, as to how that the differences can come about later on, or just throughout our whole relationship. So I'll date you just to get to know more about you, to get to know more about your culture, and we can become friends and respect that. So there are those things. There are those things as well as to my preference. But then there's a whole lot of black men that don't love the Lord. So, that's
they're like, what? Who Jesus?
Fire.
Yeah, but it's just like that.
That don't love the Lord. Like, you just went out. Wow.
I mean, what did Erykah Badu say? Like, he's
called Tyrone.
Oh no!
Oh, wow. That's the
she
only.
was like, he don't believe in God, but his spirits are just the same. But anyway,
so the preference goes down to, but then there's a chance that you might meet a black guy that grew up Baptist and that kind of, so it's just multiple layers that your odds, like with the dating apps, you swipe based off of your eye, who catches your eye first, whereas there are people who I have dated and talked to that I met in person that if I saw them on the app, I probably would have just swiped left. Or if, like, because their bio on the app is just not appealing to me, and there may be things we have in common, but I go sometimes I just be screenshotting some of these people's profile. I'm just,
why?
It's because I put in a group chat.
Oh man, there it is. I knew there was a reason.
No, but sometimes it's almost comedy when I go, because I would see people with pictures of food, or it's almost like to what you're saying sometimes, of why not to be on it, because I just don't see guys taking it serious.
Well, it's not authentic. It's still the internet.
It can be, because there's
so
humans
many times
behind the phone.
There is humans behind it, but like when you're behind the phone, you're giving people what you think people want to see. Like you're giving people the snapshots or the highlights of whatever your life might be. And the same thing with the bio, because like I've heard from women on both ends, just like, oh well, his bio is too boring, or it's like, oh I clicked on him because he said something funny. It's like you have to overly be whatever it is just to get the swipe right.
Yeah.
And it's the same in person when you meet somebody in person.
Not
as
necessarily, because then you can actually sit back and look at who they might be with, who they associate themselves with, how they actually carry themselves in person, and so it's a lot different. Mm-hmm. So it's weird to me, because a lot of people, well, especially women, when they come to dating apps, they're looking for something so specific, like it has to hit all the boxes, and you're looking at a screen, looking at a couple pictures and a paragraph, and you're defining one person by that. Right. And so you might be missing out on something as well. But to touch back on what you said before, it's like you would be open if you met somebody that might not be black, that you like, I'd be open to it if if they jive with me, but you're not putting yourself out there as such. So it's like when you're looking for something specific, there might have been somebody out there that could have matched with you and really checked all your boxes, but happen not to be black. But you're not looking for that as well.
Saying that I'm not doing to not put myself out there.
Where's the place? Okay, so now this is for the viewers, right?
Touché.
Where's a place where you think where a black woman can meet a suitable person, regardless of race, just like, let's say she's between 30 and 40.
Grocery store.
Okay.
I don't know. I wouldn't know anything. Like, one of the hardest things, like in Utah overall, I think is the entertainment value, is the nightlife and things like that. Because like I've never fancied myself. Like I do go out, but I'm usually hanging out with people and things like that. I've never really been a club guy. I've never really been a bar rat, anything like that. So, I just like to go to mutual spaces where people might be at events and things like that. But it's just
we're also limited in those options. It's not like in a city where you can say, oh, Thursday nights at this spot, exactly. People are going to be there.
Because you might see the same faces.
That's the thing with Utah. That's the problem with Utah is if you do go out and let's say, oh, this is a place that's popping on Thursday. It's typically the same faces. And you're just hoping they brought their friend.
Because I already dated that. I already talked to you.
Like, you're almost there, but like you're not quite there.
Gosh.
The circle is so small. So it's like, now at this point, once you do start dating, it's a chance that, oh girl, I used to talk to him when I first got here. So there's that dynamic as well that but I feel like there isn't a not tight knit enough social circle. It's just that the social circle in Utah is just that we're all black in Utah, but it's not really like a circle. And it's not really a connected circle that, like you're in the Utah Black Chamber, and you guys are starting to do more events and things like that. But a lot of the black people that I meet, it's all spaced out. There's not really connections of how we all know each other because everyone is just separate. Whereas if you go to other cities, if there is a social circle that, we're all connected by some degree. Whereas here it's like everyone is just all spotty. So
it just goes to the geography of the city as well.
Right. Yeah.
There's not a black area. There's not a black business area. That's one of the things that we lack, because when the city was being built, there was not enough people that
Like
we're
us.
able to build an area that like
Yeah.
this is where this is where it's at. That's why
Right.
we'll have a barber shop here, and then we'll have one 10 miles away here, and so on and so forth.
It's
and they're
nothing
all
clustered.
and there's no cluster, and they're all successful, but they're not bringing people together because they're in one general area. And same thing with housing, and same thing with employers. And that's one of the great things here. Like, and that's why like it's so frustrating, and like trying to figure this out as a native Black person here is like, how can we get, because there's so many people coming in, so many different socioeconomic like areas that are coming in from all over the country, and it's just like, how can we build something to where it's just like, yeah, this is our area. And it's so hard because the infrastructure is already here.
Yep.
So then it's just like, how do we merge into
Even
the
in
space
an
that-
artificial way, how do we do it?
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people that are staying here to build and
build.
Bingo.
develop over
That's what it
time.
is. That's what it is.
And that's the thing. And it's just like being on the chamber. That's one thing that we've always tried to do, but that's not the role of a chamber traditionally. Like
Right.
we're here to promote businesses.
Support
we're here
businesses.
to like grow businesses. We can't be the social aspect of that, but we still had that aspect because if we didn't do it, nobody else was doing
Right.
it. And so like we always found ourselves as like we're trying to do it, and it's just like when you have a revolving door of people, like it doesn't matter how many events we have or anything. Like, yeah, we're seeing new faces, but the problem is the old
They don't
faces
stay.
that we had are already gone. And
Right.
it's just like, so yeah, now we got new faces, but we can't sync this person up with this person because this person's already gone.
Mikell, are you just saying that you want us to stay? You just saying-
Yeah, absolutely. I want everybody like that. I've not been shy about that at all. Like, because I'm like, I have roots here. I have no plans.
Right.
on
It's like your
leaving.
friend, like the friends you meet, they come and go.
But yeah, and I know it's like I have a revolving door of friends, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's
Look
the
at
thing.
it. We're like, oh.
No, we're like, we still leaving.
See, that's the problem. You're like, nah, we still gone. But like, I understand what you're saying, but we're still leaving. But no, like,
No,
but
that's
like,
a good perspective.
It is,
that
yeah.
from your like, even you say dating someone, if she's ready to go, it's hard, but because you have your home, you have your
Rooted.
children, so to say
Yeah.
for you to move, it's like the compromise would
Yeah.
have to be on her
would
end, but
be-
it's a challenge.
and then it would be so great at that point. Like, the compromise would be so great. Then it's just like, then you have to think about animosity and all that other
Yeah.
stuff. So,
Resentment.
like,
Yeah.
But like it's so crazy because like as a native here and looking at the opportunities, and because I've seen so many people come here and thrive,
Yeah.
business wise, education wise, like spiritually, and like just like physically, like thrive. There's not enough Black people. I'm leaving.
Yeah,
That'd be the
but-
one thing. It's just like if there's more Black people, I'd be
I would
here.
say,
Like
yeah.
I've seen people come out and like have no outdoor experience and learn to love to hike or to camp or to golf or to ski or to
Yeah.
whatever. Like it has so much to offer, but we're still less than 2%.
So
of the
you need to
population.
promote like Suge Knight and be like, yo, y'all need to come to Utah.
I know. Like,
You know?
Well, and that's but
You don't want to hang out with them people dancing in the videos in Atlanta
Yeah.
and New York. You need to come to
and
Utah.
it's so hard because I think there's definitely money here for that.
Yeah.
And it's always about who's going to take the risk to be able to do that, because like trying to run a lifestyle group or a nightclub or something here in Utah,
Yeah.
if you're not like, if you can't keep something going, it's just not profitable. It's just hard.
And you need the
when
relationships.
when you cater to like you try to cater, because I've been doing events with the chamber forever. It's just like we're thinking that we're doing some dope shit, and then nobody shows up, and you're just like, man, we've spent all this money and time to try to bring people together, but then people are looking for something else, and it's just like it's the thing. It's just like if you build it, they will come, and it's just like we just need people to continue to come and to promote and everything like that.
And I think that's also the age thing, is just learning, is bridging the community also with the times. And you know, people just probably assume Utah, like it's an older type of crowd, which is
Right.
good, because the older crowd needs to have an outlet and something to come out to.
Well,
But that's why
Well, we need that, but we need that on like the chamber side. We need that on the business side, on the infrastructure, like building infrastructure. Like if we have older people to be able to build the infrastructure, and the
Right.
younger people to come and
support.
support it,
Yeah.
as well as have like the active, the outside, the the event space. Like having younger people do that and embrace that and want to do that.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing. It's just like sometimes this is a thankless job. Like, you're not making any money. You're doing this out of the want or the need for this to be in the community, and you're still doing all your other things in your life too.
Right.
So then
I get it.
then you like, it's an exhausting space sometimes, but it's a well needed space.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Go
But I do appreciate that. I think there is becoming an effort. I know I'll say for myself, like in terms of comedy and us trying to build a larger scene for Black comedians in Utah.
Right.
And my event that I had hosted, and I have another one coming up, and we're trying to just build that, momentum of people coming out and having and being able to know like a guarantee that when they go to this event, they'll get this type of crowd, this kind of, because it's like rolling dice going downtown on any given weekend in Utah. So it's like, when people do come here, and Black people come here, both men and women, they say, I don't like it. It's like, be the change that you want to see.
Yeah.
So if you don't like Utah Black Chamber events, why don't you join the board so you can have ideas? Be a committee member. If this same thing is like, I'm a comedian, and I knew that maybe being here is even better than being in LA and New York and stuff,
because the market is so saturated.
Right. And the challenge is there. Whereas just by being Black, I think people gonna want to come out.
Exactly.
Like, we just curious of her perspective. Right. We just curious to hear what they want to say. Like me throwing a party with reggae music. It's like, you don't hear that much out here. So people are gonna want to come out, if not familiarity for where they're from, and then for curiosity, because that's new out here.
Yeah. I think, and to tie it all together, to tying both of your points, is that when you're in these spaces, if you're interested in the business side, if you're interested in the event side, you're likely to meet people that also are interested in those things. Same values, Yes, share the same values, kind of like what you mentioned earlier. And so I think as we build more of what that looks like, I think you will see more organic, natural connections for people to sustain any type of relationship, friendship, romantic relationship. Once we have that infrastructure, artificial or, something more physical, we'll see more of it. So time shall tell, but I think that we're definitely on the trajectory of seeing some positive stuff. So on that note, thank you both for joining me today. This was a very great conversation. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in to this episode of Black and Dating in Salt Lake City. He said, she said, and see you next time.